Hello everyone, and welcome to the VisualCAM Quick Start tutorial series brought to you by MecSoft. Today we'll be demonstrating VisualMESH. When you run VisualCAD for the very first time, your screen may look like this. These windows on the left belong to plugin modules that are currently loaded. For now, let's close all of them. Okay, let's load the VisualMESH plugin. From the VisualCAD home ribbon bar, we'll go to the Plugins pane, select VisualCAM, drop down the menu, and pick Mesh. And it displays the VisualCAM-MESH browser on the left, and it's divided into three main areas. We have a ribbon bar at the top. We have a data area where all of your mesh objects are created, and then you also have an information area at the bottom that doubles for the command options dialogues. We'll be performing the following steps to complete this guide. First, we'll open a point cloud file. Then, we'll create a mesh from the point cloud. Then we'll auto-fix the mesh and analyze the mesh. After that, we'll refine the mesh and smooth it out. Then we'll analyze the mesh using curvature and reflection analysis. Then we'll create and analyze slice curves from the mesh. Finally, we'll create an offset shell and then split the mesh into two halves. Okay, let's load our part for this tutorial. So from the VisualCAD main menu, we'll pick Open. We'll go to the VisualCAM Quick Start folder here, and we'll load a point cloud file that we're going to use to create a mesh from. And then for the translation options, we'll use a common delimited file, and we'll pick the option to create the point cloud. So here's our point cloud file, and you see that it's listed over here in the data tree. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a mesh from this point cloud. So let's go ahead and select the Create tab, and we'll pick from Point Cloud. We'll select our point cloud, and from the from point cloud options dialog. Now what I'm going to do in this tutorial, I'm not going to read off each of the option values. We're using the default values, so you can stop the video and look at the values and adjust those accordingly. So we're going to go ahead and pick Create. So what we have here is a point cloud mesh from a point cloud. And as you can see, the point cloud is not well defined. We have some holes in the mesh, and let's do a quick diagnostics on the mesh to see what we have. So we'll go to the Inspect and Modify tab, the Repair tab. We'll pick Diagnose. We'll select our mesh, right click, and we'll run the checks. As you can see here, we have over 1,200 open edges. Those are a problem. We're going to have to close those, and these other things we can let slip for now. So let's go ahead and close that, and we know we need to close our mesh and fix it. So let's go ahead and turn off our point cloud, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do a auto fix. And what this does is it automatically analyzes the mesh, closes off any open areas, and makes sure everything's watertight. So we'll select our mesh, right click, and auto fix does its job. So as you can see, it looks like they filled the holes. It's not a real pretty mesh, but at least it's a closed mesh. Let's go ahead and verify that. Pick Diagnose, select the mesh, run checks. And we see we have 0 open edges. That's good. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to remesh the part. Since it's not real pretty, let's go ahead and do a remesh, see if we can refine this mesh down some. So we'll go to the Model tab. With the Inspect and Modify tab, we'll select Remesh, Select our mesh, and we'll do a uniform mesh, set our edge length, and for the number of iterations we'll set that to 4, and we'll pick Remesh. So now we have a little bit smoother mesh, and what you can do if you want to see the mesh edges, just go up here and pick shading and edges. You see that it's relatively uniform. It's not real smooth, but they are uniform. Let's go ahead and smooth the mesh out. So we'll go ahead and pick Smooth from the Inspect and Modify tab. Select our mesh, right click, and for the options down here, we'll pick Smooth in both directions. We'll have 4 iterations, and let's pick Smooth. So there's our nice smooth mesh. Everything's uniform. Everything looks nice and smooth. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of analysis on this mesh. So we'll go up and on the Inspect and Modify tab again. We'll pick Reflection Lines. Select our mesh and pick Render. So what you see here is we've got a nice rendering on the mesh, and it'll highlight any imperfections in the mesh surface. You can also do this to perform a curvature analysis. So let's do that. Pick Curvature and pick Analyze. And you see that it highlights the extreme curvature regions on the part. So now what we're going to do is create some slice curves of the mesh. And you can use these curves to further analyze your mesh geometry. So we'll go ahead and do on the Model tab, we'll pick Slice, select our mesh, and for the slice distance, we'll use 0.1 and pick Slice. And as you can see, a slice object was added to the data tree, and if we turn our mesh off, you can see the slice object. So let's go ahead and turn our grid off so we can see that a lot better. So it sliced the mesh and 0.1 distances up in the z-axis. And also, if you want to, you can export the slice to actual curve geometry. So let's go ahead and turn the slice off, turn our mesh back on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to offset and shell our mesh and then split it into a top and bottom part. So let's turn the slice back on for just a second, and I want to rotate this over onto its side so we can get a better splitting action on this part. So let's go ahead and select everything, and we'll turn the manipulator on, and we will rotate our part minus 90 degrees. So that'll flip it over onto its side. And turn that slice back off. So what you see here is we rotated our part. Now let's do an offset from the mesh. So we're going to select Offset from the Model tab. We'll pick our mesh, and we'll do an offset inward of 0.1 and a tolerance of 0.01. Let's do an offset. So now we have two meshes. Let's turn the manipulator off. We've got a mesh on the outside and a mesh on the inside. And if you want to see the inside mesh, you can turn your shading off, and that will help see the meshes a little bit differently. You see that we have a mesh on the inside of the outside mesh. Okay, so let's go ahead, and what we're going to do now is we're going to split the mesh down the center. So we'll go ahead and pick Split. We'll select both of our meshes, right click, and you see that we have a split plane displayed, and you can move that split plane to adjust your split area, and then also you can pick the option to cap the results. So let's go ahead and pick Split. So it created our top and our bottom mesh, And let's go ahead and turn the top off. And you can see we got a nice offset shell on the mesh and a nice splitting action to split that mesh in two. This completes the Quick Start tutorial for VisualMESH, brought to you by MecSoft. For further assistance, you can visit the online help supplied with the program or visit www.mecsoft.com for additional tutorials. Thank you.